Fed thinks that the job market's so great. You got James Bullard. You got all of them on parade saying we got blowout jobs number. BS, okay? Number one, in January, showed 517,000 job creations. That is not for real. What we had was a seasonal adjustment. The numbers showed we lost 2.5 million jobs. But they said, January, we usually use 3 million. So poof, 500,000 jobs created. We did not create those. But what's even more egregious, take a look, Rob, just scroll through real quick to the next one. I want to show you. So this is the 517, right? It really would have been 2.5 million losses on the next one. And go ahead and scroll through if you can. And I wanted to show you the thing from the BLS. Just go to the very next slide. Just advance it to the next one.
You see the bottom left? It says the arrow. I don't know if you see the arrow.
Just advance it to the very next slide. There you go. At the bottom there, you see where it says 2.5 million losses? That's from the BLS. You can't play with that. Now look at the next one. The next one's absolutely crazy, Pat. Look at these numbers, guys.
That's Bureau of Labor Statistics.
Right.
That's our government, folks.
That's our government. So take a look at what they showed from the household survey, which, as you all know, that's where
Rob?
That's where you get the unemployment rate.
Yeah, there you go.
They claimed in January we created 894,000 jobs. But what they did was they made an adjustment called a population control effect. What was that? They picked up some undocumented workers from early 2022. Now, any of us, logically, wouldn't you just go back and say, oh, let's revise the numbers? No, Pat. You know what they did? Although they were never created in January 2023, they put 810,000 jobs as created in January 2023. That's why the unemployment rate went down instead of going up. Without that,
you're kidding.
No, that's right from the BLS. That's right from the.
So those 810
were created in 2022.
But they put it in
2023. Now I don't want to. This came out February 3rd. Guess what happened 4 days later? By the way, do you know
what's that?
What was the big
510?
No, the State of the Union address was 4 days later. Okay, so now who knows if they're related? I'm not going to say they are, and I just think it's kind of coincidental. But now when we take a look at something like this, that was what happened in January. Let's go to February's numbers. February's numbers were, I think, very indicative. If you wouldn't mind, just go right to the next slide, brother. So this shows you what it would have been. It would have been 3.9% without the seasonal adjustment instead of 3.4. Now in February's numbers, here's what we got. It showed 311. Go to the very next slide if you can. 311,000 jobs created, right? But you see on the bottom in yellow, there was a big jump in this one category that says if you're unemployed for 5 weeks or less, that jumped by 343,000 people. So go to the next slide. This kind of illustrates it. So that's a bucket. That bucket jumped by 343,000. So what goes into the bucket? People that just got unemployed. What drains the bucket? If you either got another job or you're unemployed less than 5 weeks. If the job market is so hot, we know that the jobless claims reportedly that week were only 194,000, near very, very low. So you're not getting the inflow into the bucket, but it's not draining because people either aren't getting jobs or they're being in a position here where they're staying unemployed. That's why you see this going up.
That's so wild that they presented the way they do to say it's the lowest in how many years? Lowest in 57 years, 50-something years. Hey, it's the lowest in this, it's lowest in that. So, okay. So Barry, if what you're saying is true, and let's just say it is based on the numbers you're giving here, it's BLS. So it's not like you're getting the number from a survey, then that means the economy is worse than it really is. Is that a fair assessment?
We have less full-time jobs now than we did back in May of 2022. Much of the job gains are part-time workers. Much of the job gains are people working multiple jobs.
We have less full-time workers today than May of 2022.
You can look at
That's not good.
Now, Pat, the next one's going to really blow your mind. Check this out. Now, we got all these job gains, right? Go to the very next slide if you can, please, Rob. This one's really interesting. Do you see that chart on the bottom there?
Yes.
That chart on the bottom shows COVID.
Yeah.
But what these are is hospitality and leisure workers.
Right.
This has been the engine of growth.
Sure.
Most of the job gains have come from this category, but it's not real growth. You're just putting these poor people back to work, right? But if you notice, we're almost back to trend. Do you see that?
We're even lower than that.
But eventually, let's say we put everybody back. There's not that much more juice left to be squeezed here, right? And if you take a look at the job openings and labor turnover, known as the JOLTS report, this is job postings.
Yep.
This category last month was down 194,000. So this tells me the labor market's about to take a negative turn.
If the labor, and I'm with you, I'm fully there, and I've been saying this for a few months where I think that's the number no one's talking about. Okay, but let's go there. your background, for people that don't know your background, I mean, if you've been on a couple other times, we had you on a podcast. Your background, for people that don't know this, you have won the Crystal Ball Award for the most accurate real estate forecaster in 2017. This is through Zillow. In 2019 and 2020. You're the only 3-time, I believe, right? Okay. So you've been able to successfully forecast what's going to be happening. That's kind of what you're known for with that part of your success. You've done other things, but this is specific to this.
Well, we have a great team. It's not just me. Our team,
I'm sure
we have
the
a great
team is very good.
It's a team effort.
It's impossible for you to do it by yourself. You need the right people to give you the data, but still, your name is tied to you based on the data you get. These are the forecasts you made. If these numbers are the numbers you're showing, and we just had what's going on right now with Silicon Valley Bank, okay? And Powell is going to be sitting here. A lot of people were saying, well, before Silicon Valley Bank, he was going to raise the rates by 0.5 point and maybe another 0.5 point, and then back to back, quarter to quarter. Now, some people are saying he's not going to do anything, let alone some people are saying he may even cut and lower it. So what is your forecast based on this, based on inflation, based on Silicon Valley Bank? What do you think Powell's going to do next with interest rates?
Okay, so interest rates is very interesting because mortgage rates are going to be more determined by inflation. And the Fed will have more of an impact on shorter-term rates and also the stock market. So I believe that the Fed will more than likely have a difficult time hiking more than 0.25%. I think 0.5%'s off the table. I think maybe 0. I don't think they'll cut at this meeting. But I think that it'll either be a quarter or no move at all, maybe a pause just to see things settle down. Because remember, the Fed, by moving rates up too quickly, has caused these imbalances. Things will break. Now, the problem with the Fed is that they don't look at inflation. Mortgage rates, and real estate for that matter, will be highly motivated and driven by inflation. I have a couple of slides there, Rob. That's probably going to be in the beginning. There's a slide there how mortgage rates follow inflation. If you could see the correlation. Okay, this shows you what happens during recession. This shows you mortgage rates go down during every recession. So I believe we're headed for recession. And as a matter of fact, while we're on the topic of recession, look at the next slide. Very, very interesting, Rob. Go up one. I'm sorry. Go up one. Yeah. Why haven't we not been in a recession? Maybe we are. We already had 2 quarters of negative GDP, Pat. But take a look at credit card balances. This gray area, that's the recession followed by the pandemic. Everybody forgets we had a recession before the pandemic, 2 months before it. But credit card balances on top were way up, and the savings rate was like 10%. That big spike in savings was the stimulus. That went into people's savings account.
Fake.
But look at what they did with it. They wisely paid off their credit cards. They couldn't spend it on anything else. Notice how they drained their savings and it paid off credit cards. Then we got another stimulus check, but we spent that even faster. But what did we do? We bought a lot of name brand stuff. Then we don't worry, got another one coming. Boom. And then once that stopped, people liked that stimulus lifestyle. How do you keep it going, Pat? You charge up your credit cards, which have low balances, and you drain your savings. We've gone from a 10% savings account to 3.5%, and we now owe more on our credit cards than ever in history. Even this has to have a limit sometimes, and that's where we hit the wall.
$940 billion credit card. The reports came in. By the way, savings rate was the lowest we've had since it's a long time. Since 17 years ago, I think it was 2.4% savings rate in February. I want to say these are scary numbers to see that. So again, saying that Powell is almost cornered now with this crisis to have to either not touch it or lower it. Tom, do you think Powell is going to still raise rates? Do you think he's going to delay it 30, 60 days to see how the market's going to react to this, to see if any other banks are going to react to this? What do you think Powell's going to do next?
Well, right now I think it depends on the next 48 hours. Today was a rough day on the market, but not a cataclysmic day on the market. I'm with Barry. I think 0.5 point's off the table now. I think it's a 1/4 point. But if there's any jitteriness in the next 48 hours in banking stocks, like there's fallout, they still need to find a buyer for Maine Silicon Valley Bank. Remember, they only found HSBC to buy the UK one, and PNC on Sunday night said, nah, I'm out. They wanted PNC, Truist, and US Bank, which are the top 3 banks at the next tier. They wanted one of those, preferably PNC, because of a stronger balance sheet, to pick up United States SVB. If nobody picks that up, I think you're going to see jitters. And if there are jitters, I think Powell may go 0 next Thursday.
It's the 22nd.
Yeah, it's like we got a week, right? What's today? 14th?
13th. So you got
13th. So we got a week and a day. So next Wednesday, if it's jittery, next Wednesday Powell may go 0, but I believe he's only doing 25.
Okay, so here's a question you got to ask: how many people, and how much you think Powell communicates with Biden, with Yellen? How much communication you think there is with them and Biden right now?
I think Powell sends 14 text messages a day and receives 1,400.
Okay, so how quickly you think after this event?
I'm not being funny. I'm saying, I think everybody's hammering him.
I got you, Tom. So how much you think right now a emergency call or meeting has been made with all of them to say the following: hey, Jerome, we know we can't tell you what to do, but here's what I want you to be thinking about. We both know what's going to happen if you raise the rates a half a point. The reason why this happened with Silicon Valley Bank is because the rates increasing the way it did, and that kind of messed them up.
And they got trapped.
How many more banks like that are out there? I don't know. But if you increase it the way you were going to increase it, a point to point and a half over the next 4, 5, 6 months, this may be the time for you to pump the brakes at least for 90 days to see how this reacts. Do you think that's the responsible call for Yellen and Biden to make to Powell?
I think Yellen made that call on Friday afternoon after they seized SVB in the morning. They knew where the dominoes were going. They were watching the market. I believe that call happened before dinner time on Friday.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.